Have you ever met someone who seems to have it all together? They're smart, kind, and seem to understand life on a deeper level. We often call these people the chosen ones or old souls. You'd think they'd have perfect relationships, right? Well, here's the surprising truth. Many of these special people struggle in their love lives. It might sound strange, but it's true. These chosen ones, who seem so wise in other areas, often find themselves facing big challenges when it comes to love and relationships. Now, you might be wondering, how can this be? After all, if someone is so in tune with life and spirituality, shouldn't they be experts at connecting with others? Shouldn't they have perfect, fairy tale relationships? Well, the reality is quite different, and that's exactly what we're going to explore today. Here's why this is so important. If these chosen ones don't understand why they're having these relationship problems, they might start to feel really down about themselves. They might think there's something wrong with them, or that they're not as special or wise as they thought. This can lead to a lot of sadness and confusion. But it gets even more serious. If the chosen ones don't figure out what's causing their relationship troubles, they might start to close themselves off from love altogether. They might think, well, if I'm so wise and I still can't make relationships work, maybe I'm just not meant for love. And that would be a real shame, because these special people have so much love to give. Imagine a world where all these wise, kind-hearted people decide to stay single because they think they're not good at relationships. We'd be missing out on so many beautiful connections, so much love and wisdom being shared between partners. That's why it's so important for us to understand why the chosen ones struggle in relationships, so we can help them and ourselves find the love and connection we all deserve. Now, let's talk about something called the mirror principle. Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. In fact, it's pretty simple when you think about it. The mirror principle says that our relationships are like mirrors. They reflect back to us what's going on inside ourselves. Think about it this way. Have you ever looked in a mirror when you're feeling happy? Your reflection probably shows a big smile, bright eyes, maybe even a little glow. Now, think about looking in a mirror when you're feeling sad or angry. Your reflection shows those feelings too, right? Well, relationships work in a similar way. If we're feeling good about ourselves, confident and happy, our relationships often reflect that. We might find it easier to connect with others, to be open and loving. But if we're feeling unsure about ourselves, or if we have some inner struggles we haven't dealt with, our relationships can reflect those things too. For the chosen ones, this mirror principle can be both a blessing and a challenge. On one hand, their deep understanding of life can lead to really meaningful connections. They often have a lot of empathy and can really understand their partners on a deep level. But here's the tricky part. Because the chosen ones are so in tune with themselves and the world around them, they might also be more aware of their own inner struggles. And remember, according to the mirror principle, these inner struggles can show up in their relationships. For example, a chosen one might have a deep fear of losing their independence. They value their freedom and their spiritual journey so much that they worry a relationship might hold them back. Even if they meet someone wonderful, this fear might cause them to push their partner away without really meaning to. Or maybe a chosen one has spent so much time working on their spiritual growth that they have really high standards for themselves and for others. While having high standards isn't bad, it can sometimes make it hard to accept the normal flaws and mistakes that all humans have. This can make it tough to form lasting relationships. The mirror principle doesn't just apply to the chosen ones, though. It's true for all of us. Our relationships reflect our inner world, our fears, our hopes, our beliefs about ourselves and about love. For the chosen ones, who often feel things very deeply and think about things very thoroughly, this reflection can sometimes be extra strong. But here's the good news. Understanding the mirror principle is the first step to making positive changes. Once we realize that our relationships are reflecting our inner selves, we can start to look inward. We can ask ourselves, what parts of myself am I seeing in my relationships? What inner work might I need to do to have healthier, happier connections with others? For the chosen ones, this might mean working on balancing their need for independence with their desire for connection. It might mean learning to be gentle with themselves and others, accepting that everyone is on their own journey and growing at their own pace. It might mean learning to open up and be vulnerable, even if that feels scary. The mirror principle reminds us that the key to better relationships often lies within ourselves. It's not about finding the perfect partner or waiting for someone else to change. It's about doing our own inner work, healing our own wounds, and growing into the best versions of ourselves. This doesn't mean we have to be perfect before we can have a good relationship. Not at all. In fact, relationships can be wonderful opportunities for growth and healing. When we understand the mirror principle, we can approach our relationships with more awareness and compassion, both for ourselves and for our partners. For the chosen ones, understanding the mirror principle can be a real game changer. It can help them see that their relationship struggles don't mean they're flawed or unworthy of love. Instead, these struggles are opportunities, chances to learn, to grow, and to deepen their understanding of themselves and others. As we move forward in this exploration of why the chosen ones often struggle in relationships, keep the mirror principle in mind. Remember, what we see in our relationships is often a reflection of what's going on inside us. By understanding this, we can start to unravel the mystery of the chosen one's relationship challenges and maybe learn something about our own relationships too. Certainly. I'll continue with the next 3 sections of the outline, maintaining the same style and tone. Now that we understand the mirror principle, let's talk about something really important: patience. When it comes to relationships, especially for the chosen ones, patience isn't just a virtue, it's a necessity. You see, the chosen ones often have a deep understanding of life and spirituality. They might recognize their relationship patterns quickly or understand why they're struggling. But here's the thing: knowing about a problem and actually changing it are two different things. Think about it like this. Imagine you've been writing with your right hand all your life, and suddenly you decide to switch to your left hand. You know exactly what you need to do. Just use your left hand instead of your right. Simple, right? But actually doing it, getting your left hand to write as smoothly and quickly as your right, that takes time. It takes practice. It takes patience. Relationships work in a similar way. The chosen ones might realize, oh, I push people away because I'm afraid of getting hurt, or I have unrealistically high standards for my partners. That's a great first step, but actually changing these deeply ingrained patterns, that doesn't happen overnight. This is where many chosen ones stumble. They're used to understanding things quickly, to having insights and aha moments. But when it comes to relationships, they find that even though they understand what's going on, they keep falling into the same old patterns. This can be really frustrating. It's like they can see the destination clearly, but the journey to get there is longer and more winding than they expected. They might think, I know what I'm doing wrong, so why can't I just fix it? This frustration can lead to them giving up, thinking they're just not cut out for relationships. But here's the truth. Everyone, even the wisest among us, needs time to change old habits and patterns. It's not about how quickly you understand the problem. It's about consistently working on it, day after day, even when it feels like you're not making progress. For the chosen ones, this lesson in patience can be particularly powerful. It teaches them that true wisdom isn't just about understanding. It's about the humble, persistent work of putting that understanding into practice. It's about being gentle with yourself, recognizing that growth is a process, not an event. In relationships, this patience is crucial. It allows the chosen ones to stick with a relationship even when it's challenging, to keep working on themselves even when they slip up. It helps them see that every interaction, every conflict, every moment of connection is an opportunity to practice and grow. So if you're one of the chosen ones, or if you're in a relationship with one, remember, be patient. Change takes time. You're not failing if you don't transform overnight. Each small step, each moment of awareness is a victory. Keep going, keep trying, and trust that with time and practice, you will grow into the loving, connected person you're meant to be. Now, let's explore another crucial aspect of relationships that often trips up the chosen ones: the power of focus. You've probably heard the saying, what you focus on grows. Well, in relationships, this couldn't be more true. Here's the thing. The chosen ones, with their deep insight and awareness, often have a knack for spotting problems. They can easily see what's wrong in a relationship, what needs to be fixed, what's not meeting their expectations. And while this awareness can be helpful, it can also become a trap. Imagine you're wearing a pair of glasses that only let you see the color red. Suddenly, the whole world would seem red to you. You'd notice every red thing, big or small. That's kind of what happens when we focus too much on the problems in our relationships. We start to see problems everywhere, even in places where they might not really exist. For the chosen ones, this problem-focused vision can be especially strong. They might think, I'm so insightful. I need to figure out and fix every little issue in this relationship. But here's the surprising truth. Sometimes, the wisest thing you can do is to shift your focus to what's going right. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems or staying in unhealthy situations. Not at all. But it does mean making a conscious effort to notice and appreciate the good things in your relationship, no matter how small they might seem. Maybe your partner made you coffee this morning. Maybe they listened patiently while you talked about your day. Maybe they have a smile that still makes your heart skip a beat. These might seem like small things, but when you focus on them, when you really let yourself appreciate them, something magical starts to happen. First, you start to feel better. Focusing on the positive things naturally lifts your mood and makes you feel more loving towards your partner. But it goes even deeper than that. When you focus on the good things, you actually start to notice more good things. It's like you're wearing those glasses again. But now they're letting you see all the beautiful, loving moments in your relationship. And here's the really amazing part. When you appreciate the good things in your relationship, you tend to get more of them. It's like you're sending out a message to the universe and to your partner, saying, hey, I really love it when you do this. And guess what? You often start seeing more of that behavior. For the chosen ones, this shift in focus can be transformative. Instead of always looking for what needs to be fixed or improved, they can learn to balance their insightful nature with an appreciation for what's already good. This doesn't mean they stop growing or working on the relationship. It just means they do it from a place of love and appreciation, rather than constant criticism or dissatisfaction. Practicing this positive focus can be especially powerful for chosen ones who struggle with perfectionism or extremely high standards. It reminds them that while growth is important, it's equally important to love and appreciate what is, right here and now. So if you're a chosen one, or in a relationship with one, try this. Each day, make a point to notice and appreciate 3 good things about your partner or your relationship. They can be big things or small things. The important part is to really let yourself feel the appreciation. You might be amazed at how this simple practice can start to shift your entire relationship experience. Now we come to one of the most powerful tools for improving relationships, especially for the chosen ones: learning to break negative cycles. You see, relationships often fall into patterns or cycles, especially when challenges arise. For the chosen ones, who feel things deeply and think about things intensely, these cycles can become particularly strong and hard to break. Let's paint a picture of what one of these cycles might look like. Imagine a chosen one who has a deep fear of being abandoned. When their partner is busy with work and can't spend as much time with them, the chosen one might start to feel anxious and insecure. To protect themselves, they might start acting distant or cold towards their partner. The partner, feeling this coldness, might then actually start to pull away. And there it is, a cycle that confirms the chosen one's worst fears. Or consider a chosen one who has very high standards for communication in relationships. When their partner doesn't express themselves in the deep, meaningful way the chosen one expects, they might become frustrated and critical. The partner, feeling constantly criticized, might shut down and communicate even less. Again, we see a cycle forming, one that takes both people further from what they really want. These cycles can feel like traps, especially for the chosen ones who can see them happening but feel powerless to stop them. It's like watching a movie where you know what's going to happen, but you can't change the script. This can lead to a feeling of hopelessness, like relationships are just too hard or complicated. But here's the empowering truth. While we can't control everything in our relationships, we do have the power to change these cycles. And the chosen ones, with their deep self-awareness and insight, are particularly well equipped to do this. It just takes conscious effort and practice. The first step in breaking a negative cycle is to become aware of it. This is where the chosen ones often have an advantage. They're usually quite good at noticing patterns. The key is to catch the cycle early, before it gains too much momentum. Once you've noticed the cycle starting, the next step is to consciously choose a different response. This is where it gets challenging, because in the heat of the moment, it's easy to fall back into old patterns. But remember what we said about patience? This is where it really comes into play. Let's go back to our examples. The chosen one who fears abandonment might, when feeling anxious, choose to openly communicate their feelings to their partner instead of pulling away. I'm feeling a bit insecure because we haven't had much time together lately. Can we plan a date night soon? This open communication can prevent the defensive distancing that usually kicks off the negative cycle. Or the chosen one with high communication standards might, instead of criticizing their partner, appreciate the ways their partner does communicate. They might say, "I love how you show you care through your actions," and then gently express their desire for more verbal communication as well. These new responses might feel uncomfortable at first. They might even feel a bit scary, but they have the power to completely change the direction of the relationship. Instead of spiraling into negativity, the relationship can grow towards greater understanding and connection. For the chosen ones, learning to break these cycles can be a profound spiritual practice. It requires presence, mindfulness, and the courage to act in new ways. It asks them to let go of old stories and expectations and to meet each moment fresh. This isn't easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. As they practice breaking these cycles, chosen ones often find that they're not just improving their relationships, they're growing as individuals. They're learning to respond rather than react, to choose love over fear, to be vulnerable instead of defensive. These are powerful life skills that extend far beyond romantic relationships. Remember, breaking old cycles and creating new, healthier patterns takes time. There will be moments when you slip back into old habits, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep trying, to be gentle with yourself and your partner, and to celebrate the small victories along the way. For the chosen ones, this process of consciously changing relationship patterns can be a beautiful expression of their spiritual journey. It's a way of bringing their inner wisdom and insights into the real world, of creating love and connection in very practical, tangible ways. As they learn to break negative cycles and create positive ones, they often find that their relationships become a source of joy and growth, rather than struggle and pain. So if you're a chosen one struggling in relationships, take heart. Your sensitivity, your deep thinking, your high standards, these aren't flaws. They're gifts. And when you learn to use them consciously, to break old cycles and create new ones, you have the power to create truly extraordinary relationships. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Because in the end, love, deep, authentic, growing love, is one of the most beautiful expressions of spiritual wisdom there is. Certainly, I'll continue with the remaining sections of the outline and add a conclusion, maintaining the same style and tone. Now, let's talk about something really important when it comes to relationships: patience and staying committed. This is especially crucial for the chosen ones, who often feel things deeply and might want to see quick changes. Here's the thing: change takes time. It's like planting a seed. You can't just put a seed in the ground and expect a full-grown tree the next day, right? It takes time, water, sunlight, and lots of patience. Relationships are a lot like that. For the chosen ones, this can be a big challenge. They often have a clear vision of what they want their relationship to be like. They might see the potential for deep, spiritual connection and want it to happen right away. But just like that seed, deep connections need time to grow. Sometimes, the chosen ones might feel frustrated when their relationships don't transform overnight. They might think, "I understand all these spiritual principles, so why isn't my relationship perfect yet?" This is where patience comes in. It's important for the chosen ones to remember that everyone grows at their own pace. Your partner might not be on the same spiritual wavelength as you, and that's okay. It doesn't mean the relationship can't work. It just means you need to be patient and allow both yourself and your partner the time to grow and change. Staying committed is another big part of this. Relationships will have ups and downs. There will be times when things feel amazing, and times when it feels like nothing is going right. The chosen ones, with their deep feelings and high standards, might be tempted to give up when things get tough. But here's a secret. It's often during those tough times that the biggest growth happens. It's like when you're exercising. The moments when it's hardest, when you want to give up, those are the moments that make you stronger. So, if you're one of the chosen ones, or if you're in a relationship with one, remember, be patient with yourself and with your partner. Stay committed to growth, both individual and together. Trust that with time and care, your relationship can blossom into something beautiful and deeply fulfilling. Now, let's dive into something that can really change the game in relationships, focusing on the positive. This might sound simple, but it's actually a powerful tool, especially for the chosen ones. Remember how we talked about the mirror principle earlier? Well, this is like a continuation of that idea. What we focus on tends to grow. It's like when you buy a new car, and suddenly you start seeing that same car everywhere. The cars were always there, but now you're noticing them because that's where your focus is. Relationships work in a similar way. If we constantly focus on the problems, the things we don't like, or the ways our partner falls short, guess what? We'll start seeing more and more of those things. It's like we're shining a spotlight on the negative, making it appear bigger than it really is. But here's the good news. This works the other way around too. When we choose to focus on the positive aspects of our relationship and our partner, we start noticing more good things. Maybe your partner isn't as spiritual as you, but they're kind and supportive. Maybe they don't understand all your deep thoughts, but they listen patiently when you share them. For the chosen ones, this can be a powerful shift. Instead of focusing on how your partner doesn't meet all your spiritual expectations, try focusing on the ways they do support your journey. Notice the small acts of kindness, the moments of connection, the times when you feel understood and appreciated. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about balancing our perspective. It's about choosing to water the flowers instead of the weeds in our relationship garden. When we focus on the positive, we often find that positive things grow. We might start feeling more appreciative of our partner, which can lead to more kindness and understanding between us. This, in turn, can create a positive cycle where both partners feel more valued and are more likely to bring their best selves to the relationship. For the chosen ones, this practice of focusing on the positive can be transformative. It can help bridge the gap between their high ideals and the reality of human relationships. It can bring more joy, more appreciation, and more love into their connections with others. Now, let's talk about something really important: breaking negative cycles in relationships. This is a big one, especially for the chosen ones who might find themselves repeating patterns without understanding why. You know how sometimes it feels like you're stuck in a loop? Maybe you keep having the same argument over and over, or you find yourself attracted to the same type of person who isn't good for you. These are relationship cycles, and they can be tough to break. For the chosen ones, these cycles can be especially frustrating. They might think, I'm so aware in other areas of my life. Why do I keep falling into this same relationship trap? Well, the good news is, once you're aware of a cycle, you can start to change it. The first step is to recognize the pattern. Maybe you notice that you always pull away when things start getting serious. Or perhaps you realize you're always attracted to people who need fixing. Awareness is the first step to change. Once you see the pattern, the next step is to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I afraid of? What am I hoping to gain? Often, these patterns are ways we try to protect ourselves from old hurts or fears. For the chosen ones, this might mean looking at how their spiritual beliefs or past experiences are influencing their relationships. Maybe you're afraid of losing your spiritual path if you get too close to someone. Or perhaps you're holding on to an idealized version of love that no real person can live up to. After understanding comes action. This is where you consciously choose to do something different. If you usually run away when things get serious, maybe you choose to stay and have an honest conversation instead. If you're always trying to fix your partners, maybe you practice accepting them as they are. Breaking cycles isn't easy. It can feel uncomfortable or even scary at first. But remember, this discomfort is often a sign of growth. You're stepping out of your comfort zone and into new possibilities. For the chosen ones, breaking these cycles can be a powerful part of their spiritual journey. It's an opportunity to align their relationships with their deeper values and to create connections that truly support their growth and happiness. Now, let's get practical. All this understanding is great, but how do we actually apply it in real life? Well, I've got an exercise for you that can really help improve your relationships, whether you're one of the chosen ones or not. Here's what I want you to do. Every day for a week, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you appreciate about your partner or, if you're single, about your relationships in general. These can be big things or small things. Maybe you appreciate how your friend always remembers your coffee order, or how your partner supports your dreams. This exercise does 2 important things. First, it shifts your focus to the positive, which we talked about earlier. Second, it helps you develop a habit of gratitude, which can be incredibly powerful in relationships. For the chosen ones, this exercise can be especially helpful. It can balance out the tendency to focus on spiritual ideals by grounding you in the everyday beauty of your relationships. It can help you see the spiritual in the simple acts of love and kindness around you. Now, if you're single, you can still do this exercise. Write down things you appreciate about your friends, family, or even strangers who've been kind to you. The goal is to train your mind to notice and value positive connections. Remember, this isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about balancing our perspective and cultivating gratitude. Over time, you might find that this simple exercise starts to shift how you see your relationships and how you interact with others. Now, I know some of you might be having doubts or questions. That's totally normal, especially when we're talking about something as complex as relationships. So let's address some common concerns that the chosen ones often have. One question I hear a lot is, does being spiritually aware mean I can't have a normal relationship? Absolutely not. Being spiritually aware doesn't mean you have to live like a monk or only date other highly spiritual people. It means you bring your awareness and compassion into your relationships, whatever they look like. Another common worry is, what if my partner doesn't understand my spiritual path? This is a valid concern, but it doesn't have to be a deal breaker. What's important is mutual respect. Your partner doesn't have to share all your beliefs, but they should respect your path, just as you respect theirs. Some chosen ones worry, am I too picky? Should I lower my standards? Remember, having standards is good. You shouldn't settle for a relationship that doesn't feel right. But it's also important to be realistic. No person or relationship is perfect. The key is finding someone who aligns with your core values and who is willing to grow with you. One more question I often hear is, how do I balance my spiritual practice with my relationship? This can be tricky, but it's definitely possible. It's about finding ways to integrate your spiritual life with your relationship. Maybe you meditate together, or you share inspiring books. Or maybe you simply bring the mindfulness from your spiritual practice into how you treat your partner. Remember, these doubts and questions are normal. They're part of the journey. The key is to approach them with openness and compassion, both for yourself and for others. As we wrap up our exploration of why the chosen ones often face challenges in relationships, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. We've seen that being spiritually aware or chosen doesn't automatically lead to perfect relationships. In fact, it can sometimes create unique challenges. But we've also seen that with understanding, patience, and conscious effort, these challenges can be overcome. We've explored the mirror principle, learning how our relationships reflect our inner world. We've talked about the importance of patience and persistence, understanding that deep, meaningful connections take time to grow. We've discussed the power of focusing on the positive and how this can transform our relationships. We've looked at ways to break negative cycles and create new, healthier patterns in our connections with others. And we've addressed some common doubts and questions, reminding ourselves that being spiritually aware doesn't mean we can't have normal, healthy relationships. Remember, whether you're one of the chosen ones or not, relationships are a journey. They're an opportunity for growth, for learning, for deepening our understanding of ourselves and others. They're a chance to put our spiritual principles into practice in the most intimate and challenging of settings. So if you're struggling in your relationships, know that you're not alone. Know that facing challenges doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're human, you're growing, you're on the path. Keep focusing on the positive. Keep working on yourself. Keep opening your heart, even when it's scary. Remember to be patient, both with yourself and with others. And above all, keep believing in the power of love to transform, to heal, and to bring joy. Your journey in relationships, like your spiritual journey, is uniquely yours. Embrace it, learn from it, and trust that each experience is bringing you closer to the deep, fulfilling connections you desire. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. I hope these insights bring more understanding, more compassion, and more love into your relationships. Remember, you are worthy of love, just as you are. Keep shining your light, chosen ones. The world needs your love and wisdom.